Remgro invests in financial services, healthcare, food, liquor, shipping, and other sectors.
Yeah, so we have brought it home now, so we're going to slow down a little bit. These are companies you too can invest in right now, right here in rands in your local portfolios. Remgro, certainly one of the established players, no longer has any Richemont in it and no longer has any British America tobacco in it.
Market cap, we're looking at 128.9 billion rand, PE ratio 19.3, dividend yield of 1.6%.
So what you've got here is a very well capitalized investment vehicle, which
under
has
Jannie Durant.
Jannie Durant as the CEO, and then he's supported by a bunch of other executives, and then Johan Rupert as the key player in the board. And the board meets as often as they need to consider what kind of investments they ought to have. The underlying investments, you read a long list there, but the core two pieces of it are healthcare, a very big and chunky stake of Mediclinic, which has grown into a big beast.
And financial services.
And financial services, exactly. So that's
through the
RMI,
R&B,
First
F&B
Rand, all of the
exposure,
Discovery, Outsurance, all of that family of financial services
So
companies.
let's talk to this share price graph.
Well, it's done well on the back of those underlying investments. I mean, we know that that's what the share price of Mediclinic looks like. We know that's what the share price of First Rand looks like. So that's what you'd expect. Remgro continuing to do well.
Now, why would you go Remgro rather than take a stake in F&B Direct, in Discovery Direct? Obviously, you don't have exposure to the Outsurance, which isn't listed.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Why would you? I mean, my sense is...
I don't know. Can Jannie and his team do it better than you can individually?
There are a few unlisted investments there which
Outsurance being...
Well, that would be one that's sort of captured because RMI owns Outsurance. So the ones that are not at all listed are things like they own half of Total South Africa, they own Unilever South Africa, they own a thing called Air Products, which is a competitor to Afrox. Robertson's, a bunch of those kinds of things. I mean, that's probably something I'm leaving out. Their portfolio is so long, I've got to look at... You've got some
So
Grindrod.
you're saying then the rationale for investing in this one is to get access to the non-listed assets
Well,
within
not
the
really.
space.
Not really, because if the unlisted stakes were that big, that they were a dominant part of the portfolio, then that would be something, but it's not.
So I still got to
6 or
understand,
7
why
years
would you
ago-
invest in Remgro?
Let me give you an example. Like 6 or 7 years ago, British America Tobacco wasn't listed in its own right on our local market. So the only way to get British America Tobacco was to own Remgro. But now that's no longer the case anymore. So I don't know. My feeling is if you want a one-stop entry point, I think the underlying stakes are hot. So I'm very positive about the financial services group, the RMIs,
So by
all the rest of it.
association, you would then say hot to
So if you
Remgro
are
as the
short of
holding
time
company.
or short of money, then you could buy this one because it would give you a single entry point into all of those others. And
So
let me be clear, I would far rather own Remgro than I would invest in the units of a unit trust, because unit trust managers often have fees which they charge for their services of 3, 4, sometimes even as 5%. Whereas the guys that run Remgro have a very sleek, minimally expensive head office, couple of guys, couple of board meetings, biscuits and tea at the board meeting. They have a much lower net cost. And Jannie Durant and Johan Rupert are always pointing this out when these guys come to their results presentations. I think they do a tremendous job. I think they also have the capital. Sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit longer. I've just had another thought.
I see there's a light bulb moment happening.
Did you see what happened with the Mediclinic deal recently where they wanted to take a 30% stake in a business in the UK called Spire Healthcare? Mediclinic didn't really have the money for it. So what did they do? They picked up the phone to their parent company, Remgro, who does have a lot of cash lying around. Remgro bought the stake for like 10 billion rand. And then Mediclinic at its leisure went and did a rights issue to raise the money and basically bought that stake back. So it just gives you an indication that they do have the capital and the fleet of foot decision-making processes that they can move and act opportunistically when there are other investment opportunities. And I would expect that sort of opportunity.
So this
type stuff to
endorses
continue.
your hot call on Remgro?
Yeah, because I think at the margin they have some other stuff going on. In addition to very attractive underlying assets, they've also got the ability to leverage the portfolio.
Hot on Remgro.